All right, so we started in the Native American exhibits and then went into the like early pioneers of Nevada and learned all about mining and stuff like that. And kids really like that. Hoover Dam and early Vegas. There's all this memorabilia from early Vegas. That was kind of neat. Oh, and there was this place called Fanny's. It was a dress shop, and I guess it was a famous dress shop here. And these are some of the original clothes that you could find there. And everything's behind a glass, but you can kind of see how maybe it was set up. And then all things Vegas. The kids got to spin a wheel. They had one set up to kind of like show them, I guess, how to gamble. Okay. And then here's the cowboy, the drawings for the cowboy sign, which I think that one is at the grave boneyard now.
Yes,
right?
at the boneyard.
Yeah, neon graveyard. This is a really neat area. This is all imported houses from near the Strip. They're old Las Vegas houses from very many years ago. I think this one might be 1914, and they brought them in and put them together, and you could just see it's all antique stuff from way back then. And this is a small little house, like 1,000 square feet or something. You would have probably had about 8 people in a family, 8 to 10 people living here maybe, depending on how big it was. But the houses were not very big at all. And you can see the old furniture. You might recognize some of it from your grandparents' house. I know my grandmother had some things like this around. So it's kind of neat because you can walk around and really get a feeling, and it really smells. It smells old, but you know, the stuff they don't want to get harmed is behind glass. Here's some an old-fashioned larder for the kitchen. That would have been where they put their ice block in, and it's kind of neat to look around. There's an old phone over there on the wall, and the mannequins are kind of funny because they had to use them from other areas of the museum, and so you get a really eclectic mix of mannequins.
Yeah.
But the kitchen is really kind of interesting color, isn't it? And remember this linoleum? Do you ever remember this linoleum in like our grandparents' house? This is an outside washroom. I had an aunt that had something like this. This is an earlier version. We used to have one of those. Did you ever have one of those?
And my grandmother had that.
Yeah, those
washer
washboards.
and the washboard.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want anybody to take this iron.
Oh.
And so
I
they
guess
kind
not.
of changed it. But this is where they would have heated up the laundry. And then I don't know what that middle one was used for. I should have read it. And then there's a laundry basket there. All right, this is another home. Can you see that date? I don't remember. I think it's in the 20s or something like that. That lamp, my grandmother had a lamp like that, but it had like desert scenes on it. Some of this stuff. Now I have to tell you, there's above that television set there, that shadow box. We used to have one just like that.
Crazy.
In our house growing up, and you put little knickknacks on it. And then you can kind of look in this kitchen. It's really cool because you can't go any further here, but you get kind of a panoramic view. My grandmother had that spice container on the wall. And I just really like look, they've got a blender book, I guess, to go with the blenders. They were making smoothies back then too, I guess, huh? It's funny. So back there you got like a Maytag washer and a Westinghouse refrigerator. Up here we were just talking about how well made those were. My grandmother had one of those.
That one probably still running.
Yeah, probably so, right? And then I get a kick out of the decor. You know, it looks neat, but it's very dated, but it kind of looks kind of cool. And this is a TV set room, so they have all kinds of different TVs and different types of like the phonograph and stuff like that. That one in the middle looks kind of weird. That kind of caught my eye because it kind of looked a little, I don't know, like an
Jetsons.
alien thing. This bathroom reminded me of one that we had in Spain, except the tub in Spain was like half the size, and the walls were covered in tile, very same color.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we would use a shower and you stood there,
Oh,
you would get
yeah.
shocked.
Yeah. Don't touch the wall.
Yeah, but it was this same color too, so apparently it must have been around the same time that they decorated it. And then this is somebody's bedroom. Every time I turn the corner, these mannequins would freak me
Yikes.
out. So I thought this was a real person. But you notice he has his tie and a beer in his hands. It's like, that was probably a really hard day. But I think I had relatives who had that headboard. That phone. Look at that phone. Remember those?
I do.
I had to tell the kids what those were. So here we go into another house here. I think this one's maybe a little older. There's a piano there. Now they had a lot of knickknacks back here, hand painted. What do you call that? Like a phonograph or something. And then they had a mannequin sitting down to a bunch of tea sets and trinkets that were from way back then. There's a, what do you call it, record player from back then. It was kind of neat to see all this stuff. I saw an old sewing machine there. It's really kind of neat to take pictures of all of this stuff. That is what I think they mean by too many irons in the fire. There's like a million of them sitting on top of that stove heating up. And then this one is, I think, a little bit later. Going in here. Yeah, see, this is starting to look a little bit more familiar. It's starting to look like Grandma's house a little bit more. All doilies everywhere. And I guess they used a lot of, look at that oven. Oh my goodness, yeah. And then that ice box. Yeah, this was still pretty early, wasn't it? Probably so. Very interesting. There's a closet, another bathroom. One thing I noticed about this bathroom, if you look in the corner down on the bottom right, there was like a little plug-in heater. So they don't have it in the wall just yet. This looked kind of like my grandmother's house. We found a printing office, and so yeah, it had a whole bunch of really cool stuff in it. And the boys were really interested in finding out what all this stuff was used for, because now you have all of this stuff on a computer. None of this stuff is necessary. None of it exists anymore. Necessary.
Cutting edge.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, so the printing press was kind of interesting, and look at that. Shane thought it was really neat to see for about 2 seconds. But I don't know. I think this box in the corner was important. It was part of the exhibit, but I can't figure out what that was for. And there wasn't a sign up that told us what that was for.
Maybe it just held all their dies, all their stamps.
Maybe. Look at this. This is the Monster, the Beast printer here. Goodness, this is from like 1890?
Okay.
That's so cool. And then we found an old Airstream. And again, they got us sectioned off with the plastic. You got to kind of like take pictures where you don't get that reflection. But I liked looking at the old stream. It was Airstream. It was kind of neat. Remember Sanka coffee sitting there in front of the TV. This reminded me of your grandma's place and your grandpa's place. They had a little Okay, this is the Candlelight Chapel. It used to be on Vegas, on the Strip here. So they moved that. This is a new part of the exhibit, and now it's here.
Look at that.
So I think that this is kind of probably one of the fancier ones. This is one of the bigger ones. Yeah. So they brought in these mannequins here. So if you know anybody that got married in a candlelight chapel, they might recognize some of this stuff here. It's a beautiful piano, actually. It's probably one they used. I love all the retro mannequins here. Funky clothes. But anyway, so this one's kind of a more spacious cathedral, I think. And it's got like one of the older wedding dresses here. And they have albums with people who were married there. You can flip through and
Do you recognize
look at
anybody?
them. No, just people from over the years. I'm sure they had some celebrities. They did have some celebrities.
Oh, look, you could add to your
Right?
menu.
Yeah, I think the donation was only the minister, so that came, you had to figure out what you're going to give him. Everything else was a set price. This is another older home. Now this is really starting to look more and more familiar to us growing up, I guess. This one is when they started getting a little bit more of the modern things, adding those in. Look at the refrigerator, looks a little different. But these houses were incredibly small. I mean, for being, as functional as they were. I remember that dresser and that mirror.
Wow.
My aunt had that set. And I guess she should have hung on to it. It's probably worth some money now, But anyway, these were kind of like real simple, almost minimalist homes, This is a kid's room. This one reminded me of Andy's room from Toy Story. Kind of, don't you think?
Yeah.
Kind of does, little boy's room. And here's a little fancier bathroom, and you notice that the heater is on the wall now. So it's not like a separate fan just sitting there. This one, we had one that was in Spain that kind of looked like that. And it was all pink and tiled. It was kind of neat. Nowadays, just compare that to the bathrooms nowadays. Oh my,
Right.
make them look like the Taj Mahal. And this is looking in from the outside. One thing about this place is you can get some really nice still lifes. You can get all kinds of really neat yesteryear pictures. Then we went outside and started taking some really interesting things in the yard. Found all kinds of stuff to take. I like looking at the architecture of the different tools and things like that, just the design of them. And the textures and colors, things like that. We got some really nice pics. It was
Like a fun day.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat day. Kids learned a lot about history